We got another great matchup in the Big Ten on Martin Luther King Day. Michigan State just falls to number 3 Purdue by just 1 point. Zach Edey coming off a career day. Monster numbers for possibly the player of the year. Hello, everyone. Welcome to SlasherU. I'm your host, Christian Rao, here with my co-host, Steve Feck. We're going to break down this game. 64-63 final. Purdue gets to win over Michigan State. Michigan State had the chance to be at the top of the Big Ten after this game. It was set up nicely. I feel like we've talked about this a few times this season. Michigan State had a really nice, had an opportunity to win the game on a last inbound play. Maybe, a few months back against Gonzaga, the shot selection wasn't great. The play didn't turn out good. In this case, the play turned out really good. The shot was just a little short.
Yeah.
However, great game all the way to the end on this one. There were a few calls that you could say were questionable in this one that would be against Michigan State in favor of Purdue. Nevertheless, we are seeing the number 3 team in the nation, the Boilermakers, win this one 64-63. Again, Zach Edey scored a career high 32 points, 17 rebounds, and he had the game-winning layup, 2.2 seconds to play to help the number 3 team escape out of Breslin Center with a hard-fought victory. Steve, what was your thoughts on this one? I thought this one was probably the game of the day, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you led off with what I actually had written down first about it would have been a 3-way tie atop the Big Ten had Michigan State pulled this off. And I don't know that anybody's honestly outside of Michigan State fan base would really have said that was a possibility. Maybe after one game they could be tied. But I mean, to be this deep into conference play already and to have a chance to actually pull into a 3-way tie, I don't think anybody thought that. But my other thought was that everybody in the arena, everybody at home watching the game on TV, everybody on the floor, everybody on the bench knew that inbound pass was going to go to Edey. And it didn't matter. I mean, he also knew he was going to score it. It was just something. When players have games like that, I don't like to use cliches like, transcendent type of games. He has just taken his game to a whole new level, and he just seems to get even higher and higher with every passing game with Purdue. This is what you want Big Ten basketball to be like. This was as close to a Big Ten tournament game, I think, as we would have seen all through the conference. We've seen some great basketball in this conference already, but I mean, this was a tournament game. Purdue executed its game plan. It got its secondary scorer in Fletcher Lawyer. I mean, he had 14 in the second half. He really stepped up. Purdue needs that. As great as Edey is, they need to take that pressure off of him. If it's just mental pressure, because I mean, he basically knows, okay, he's the guy. But if there is that other player that now he can then maybe kick the ball out from, if he doesn't quite have his shot, in the paint, I think that's going to make things a lot easier on him just from this mental approach to the game. Even after that great play by Edey, I mean, if Tyson Walker had made that shot, then now we're having a different conversation.
Yeah, let's talk about Tyson Walker, because although he missed that end of the shot, he had a career day in himself. 30 points in this one, 12 from 23 from the field, 50% from beyond the arc, even with that missed 3-point shot at the end of the game. 30 points in this one in 37 minutes. I think he played outstanding. AJ Hoggard also played great. I really enjoy his play. I feel like we're talking about him more and more as the season deepens, and that's an amazing thing. And we always talked about at the beginning of the season about Joey Hauser. He had some impactful plays in this one. I think him and First for Purdue also had some very impactful minutes, impactful points. But it was really, in my opinion, it came down to Edey versus Walker. And if you really want to play apples to oranges here, well, Edey had 2 points more. Purdue finds a way to win by 1. There was a tough start for Michigan State right off the bat before this game started, Steve, and that was Malik Hall was out again. Yeah. We heard at the beginning of this game, there was a pregame radio show by Tom Izzo. He did report that there's another injury for Hall, and he is expected to miss potentially more time after he's already missed those 8 games this season with that stress reaction in his left foot. We saw him come out at the beginning of the game during warmups. He was in a walking boot. that obviously is not a great thing for Michigan State, although they played Purdue fantastic over the last few years. I think like last year they won by 3. The year before they lost by 1. I mean, this is a fantastic rivalry. The spread was +4 Purdue. I don't know why you'd even think about playing that spread so high, that there's always just such a good game between these two teams. However, losing Malik Hall is huge. And if he was on the court and being productive, you got to think this game could easily be the other way.
Absolutely. I mean, I had that written down, but it was gonna be my final brilliant repartee here about this game. But yeah, I mean, if Malik Hall's on the floor, I think Michigan State wins this game. Now that might seem like really, really extreme, and well, you don't know what could have happened, and blah blah. Blah. Even if he wasn't 100%, his presence on the floor changes the way that Purdue lines up defensively. So for me, him not being there, they really missed him not being there. But I think the quote that Izzo used was, "He'll be out a while." I think the word was "a while." I don't like to see "a while" attached to any injury because I mean, you never quite know, especially with all the new techniques. I mean, players can bounce back from severe injuries, but you're talking a foot injury. It's not going to go away the rest of the season. The only way it goes away is complete rest. Michigan State can't have Malik Hall on the sidelines for the rest of the year. I don't think Malik Hall will allow himself to be on the sidelines for the rest of the year. But ultimately, that's a lingering issue for the rest of the season that Michigan State's going to have to try to, if and when he comes back, try to account for, manage his minutes, maybe change the looks that they give him. So I'm going to go out even on a further limb here. Not only do I think that Malik Hall, if he's in, they win, I'm going to say, and I just called Zach Edey's game transcendent. I think Tyson Walker had a better, more impactful game than Edey did. That's how good he was in this game. And if he had not had that kind of game, he had not stepped up, especially in the second half, because again, you said Michigan State off to a slow start. They did have a nice 9-2 run toward the end of the first half, but he scored 19 points, in the second half. And I swear to God, it seemed like every single one was either a momentum changer or a lead changer. He just played terrifically, and guard play. It was the backcourt for Michigan State.
Yeah, you got to think that. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say you talked about Hoggard. I mean, he looks more confident now than as opposed to what we saw again, like in that Gonzaga game or early on. It's not that he necessarily played bad. I think he played tentatively, but now I don't think he's afraid to take that tough shot, and I don't think he's afraid, to try to force a turnover. And I think that's a good sign for Michigan State. We also talked about early on, where is the consistent scoring going to come from? And I think now, even with Hall being out, I think now we have some answers. It's going to be coming from the backcourt, game in, game out. Doesn't mean that the front line's not going to make contributions, but I think we now know, okay, they've got that backcourt, that guard play that you need to get yourself through those tough games late in conference play and into the conference tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tyson Walker had a fantastic game too. I think one of the most impressive parts of this game is he still found a way to score 30 points after opening the entire game 0 for 4. Right? They started off really bad. They started off slow. They were down 24-11 with about 5 minutes left in the first half. And Izzo took a very smart timeout. Very smart timeout. I mean, he's one of the most impressive coaches in all college basketball. He knows how to change momentum. And we really saw that happen. It just wasn't enough at the end of the game. However, they had a 22-3 run to get back into this one, cutting the deficit 27-25 at the break. I mean, it was very impressive watching that. And it really gave you hope that going into that half, into the second half, that, okay, the Spartans can keep up with this. This is the game that we expected that we were going to get after the last few seasons. And we did. We got exactly that game. I do think that, and I agree with you 100% with Malik Hall in the game, that I think Michigan State would have been able to win this one. I still think Edey would have had a great day. Maybe not
Oh, sure.
career
Yeah.
numbers,
Right.
but he really played fantastic in this one. And I do see Purdue being a top team in the Big Ten. Now, obviously, when we look at the new standings in the Big Ten, Purdue six at the top at 6-1. Rutgers is now ranked, by the way. They're sitting 23rd. They're 5-2 in the conference. Michigan State does fall to 4-3. That makes them tied for fourth now. So they go from potentially being the number one team in the Big Ten to tied for fourth. That's a big jump for this one, especially in a really top heavy, very deep conference. Going from the top to tied for four, and that's a tied for four with three teams. So another loss, you're down to seventh, eighth place in the conference. That's not good. That's something to really keep in mind for Michigan State. Their next game comes up against those ranked Rutgers on Thursday, 6:30 Eastern, Fox Sports 1. What's your thought about that one? That Rutgers team looks really good so far this season, Steve.
Yeah, they've really come together. I mean, there were times last year, and it wasn't just their wins over Purdue. I mean, they just looked like, wow, they're finally getting back to those great teams of like the mid and late 70s. This is a program that can put together a nice run there in conference. Uh, I want to see how they hold up as conference play continues. I mean, it's a grind. I mean, it doesn't matter what the conference is, it's a grind. In the Big Ten, it's a grind. And we've talked about this before. I think that's why Big Ten teams sometimes struggle to go deep in the tournament because it is so intense in conference play and in the conference tournament. They just wear down. I mean, it's just those black and blues. You get a little bit more tired. You're a little more sore. And I think that just works against them in the tournament. But I would love to see Rutgers be relevant again. I think it's good for the Big Ten ratings wise to have the New York market team stepping up and playing well. Even teams like Penn State, who had the big win that we covered last week. I mean, it's not a big market, but again, it's a market outside of where most of the focus is, and the wider your footprints that are, the better for your recruiting, the better for your network ratings, better for your seeding. I mean, if Rutgers and Penn State and teams like that, even Michigan State, if they're all having big years and they really weren't expected to, that plays into your strength of schedule and your seeding for the tournament. So it all becomes one big, bouillabaisse here for the Big Ten. There's a lot of good things happening in the conference, and the fact that Rutgers is doing it, of course, warms my little cockles here, or your cockles on the right side. The cockles are in here somewhere. Somewhere here in here, my cockles are being warmed. So, so it's a great thing. But again, I do think, and it goes back to what we've said multiple times, the Big Ten is just a tremendous conference this year. I mean, I think it's finally perhaps challenging the Big 12 as being the best basketball conference in the country, top to bottom.
We're going to have to put a mature audience sign on this episode. If you keep saying the word cockles, you better be careful with that. Zach Edey, the junior from Toronto, Ontario, obviously fantastic. He is 11th in the nation right now in points, 21.3. He's leading the nation in rebounds at 13.2 a game. He is 15th in the nation in field goal percentage, 62.9% from the field. That is absolutely impressive. Putting all those numbers together, is he one of your top three in player of the year candidate right now?
Oh, he's the player of the year for me. I mean, and that's saying a lot. I mean, he's writing a story that Disney will eventually come up with a movie about. Of course, they'll mess up all the facts and they'll change it around. But really, he's writing that movie script fairy tale kind of season. I think he took it to heart that he needed to get even better, and he got himself in better shape. And I think you can tell he worked on his foot. Not that his footwork was bad, but I think he really is positioning himself. He's always in the right place, it seems. So for me, when I think of a player of the year, it's not just the stats, and the flashy numbers. It's what he means to the team, how he dominates or controls the game, and that's Zach Edey. I mean, he's the guy that has more impact on every game than any player in the country. So I don't see how he could not be player of the year.
All right. I agree with you too. I think he's right up there. I'm sure that there's somebody who deserves to be in consideration that we're missing. If you think that we are not giving somebody fair justice, go ahead and let us know in the comments below. Always love that debate and discussion.
Mhm.
So thank you so much. Well, for Purdue, their next game is going to be against Minnesota. They have not been too good in the Big Ten so far, only winning one game. So we're going to see top versus bottom in this one. Purdue versus Minnesota. I mean, it still could be a good game. You never know how the
Yeah,
conference is going to line up. As
right.
for Michigan State, we talked about earlier on Thursday, they're going to take on Rutgers, a ranked matchup against a team who is just outside top 25, Michigan State. I think we will see a number next to their name again at some point with Tom Izzo's squad. I think they're going to be a tournament team. I still have my hopes for that squad. So let us know your thoughts in the comment description below. What do you thought about this game between Purdue and Michigan State? What do you think about Zach Edey? Is he your national player of the year as of right now? And what do you think about those Spartans? Do you think they can get into the top 25? And do you see them as a tournament team once we get to March? Let us know your comments in the comment description below. Hit like and subscribe while you're there. And thanks for watching SlasherU.